Thank you very much for such a nice intro. And I'm very glad to participate in this show today. I am the CEO and co-founder of Cartesiam. I'm currently based in Paris, France. And I'm going to introduce the artificial intelligence, but in a different way than what you may have seen up to now. So before I move on, let me give you a few words about Cartesiam, what we do, who we are, and so on. So we are a software company. We are based in France, in the south of France, and in Paris. And we have offices in Germany, and we have a subsidiary in the US, in New York. And our mission in life is really to help developers, so really the guys who are developing artificial intelligence solutions to create smart objects very quickly, very easily. To do that, we are going to talk about one discipline of the artificial intelligence today, which is the artificial intelligence at the edge. We define the edge as the place where a signal, any signal, could be a video, could be a vibration, could be a temperature, any kind of signal becomes a data. That's the edge of the network. And so we have a partnership with many companies that are very active in that space. And I'm going to introduce artificial intelligence. But before I move on, let me tell you that we have been recognized by, for example, the Gartner, which is a very well-known company making assessments on technology, as one of the top 3 leaders worldwide in the AGI category. We won many prizes around the world and have several customers, but I don't think that the purpose of this demo is to talk more about Cartesiam. So when you think about artificial intelligence, you may think about autonomous cars, you may think about face recognition in videos and many things like that. I would say that the journalists today are very proactive in this area to try to explain what could be done with artificial intelligence. But we at Cartesiam, we focus on something that is, let's say, less glamorous. We focus on machines, because there are 7 billion humans on Earth, but there are roughly 160 billion machines on Earth. These machines are generating vibrations, temperature, electrical signals, and things like that. And the only thing they want to do is just to try to do a better job, just to detect anomalies. So for example, a dishwasher may want to tell you that the pump is about to fail, or a pump inside your factory may want to tell you that the bearing is about to break and therefore needs to be repaired. And same for anti-fraud detection, and same for security. Artificial intelligence is something that is going to be extremely pervasive in your life, and that we can simply bring inside everyday's objects very easily using our technology. So today, when you talk about artificial intelligence, the first thing that comes to the mind, if you are a little bit in that space, would be, well, we need a lot of energy, we need a lot of data, we need a lot of computing power to crunch data and so on. So let me take an example. If you want, for example, to recognize cats inside video, then you need to train a model. You need to have someone using an artificial intelligence framework to teach this model what a cat is. Because any kids 3 years old, you show him a cat, the minute after you show him a second cat, he will tell you this is a cat. The learning process, the training process is extremely fast for us humans. But when you're a machine, it's not very fast at all. So you will need to teach each model what is a cat. So first you need to grab data, capture data set. So for example, 1 million pictures of cats. And then you will need to have also a picture of a lion, because a cat looks very close to a lion, and then to a cheetah, and then to a lynx, etc., etc. So you will need a lot of heavy work to teach exactly what you want to recognize. So to do this, you need to have a data scientist, which is someone that is not very popular at the moment. Just in the US, there are currently 170,000 jobs offered for data scientists. So very, very scarce resources. And then all of that happens in the cloud. So this is why most of the projects today don't go any further than a proof of concept, because it's very difficult to create all of that. So when you do, like I said, artificial intelligence, you have two tasks. You have the first part, which is the training that happens in the cloud. And then you have the inference. So I train the model to recognize cats. And then I show him a picture of a cat. And he tells me, this is a cat. I show him a picture of a dog. He tells me, this is not a cat. Okay, so this is what we call the inference. So as I said, doing this first part, the training, is very complex because you need to capture data, because picture of cats and picture of cats are very easy to find. You go on Instagram and you have millions of pictures. But if you need to teach, for example, a motor, an engine, somebody walking, a space shuttle, or things like that, capture the data might be very complex. The second is you need to work on the signal. And the last one, as I said, you need to have to access data scientists. So, for example, if you want to do predictive maintenance, which is very popular at the moment, try to anticipate when the machine is going to break, well, you need to capture data from these three engines, for example, put the data in the web, on the cloud, sorry, create a model, and then put the model inside a small component called the microcontroller. And then you put this on this machine and you will be able to monitor the machine. But if you have three different pumps, it doesn't work because it doesn't know how these pumps are going to vibrate, for example. So this is an issue. So what we have done at Cartesiam is we have created an engine that will create for you a data scientist that will be inside the microcontroller. So our technology is called NanoAGI Studio. Just create, using the studio, a library. The library is like a program, okay? And you put the program inside the microcontroller, and you put the microcontroller on the machine, and automatically it will create a model for you. So in other words, this machine, for example, is going to do some vibrations. The program that you have created inside the microcontroller will create a model and will self-analyze the machine by itself. Okay, so, and then it will work for any single machine. So very easily, you can, in a matter of hours, create a machine learning engine, so an engine that is going to learn how the machine vibrates and then analyze the vibration. So how did we do it? Well, basically, we spent the first 3 years of Cartesiam working only on mathematics. Only on mathematics, because techniques of artificial intelligence exist since 1954. It's John McCarthy who invented that term in 1954. But at that time, he did not have enough data and he did not have enough computing power. But the mathematics were already there. So what we have done is we have rewrite, starting from the algebra, starting from scratch, every single machine learning algorithm, so it can work not in the cloud, but it can work inside this little component here on the top right called a microcontroller. This component costs approximately $1. Okay, it's like a computer. It's everywhere. 15 billions are sold every year. 15 billions means 500 every second. Okay, these components are in your smartphone, in a satellite. They are between 300 and 500 in each car. They are in a remote control. They are in all the objects. They are in the coffee machine. They are absolutely everywhere, okay? And so the artificial intelligence called the machine learning engine we have created works autonomously inside this component without any connection to the cloud. So for example, you use our tool to create a library, you put the library inside the microcontroller, and I put this microcontroller on machine number 1. Machine number 1, when it works, it's going to vibrate. I capture the vibration data, and I learn and I create a model that represents exactly how this machine works. And then after a while, I'm going to switch from learning to inference, so to analysis. And I'm going to continue to analyze the vibration of the machines. If this machine or the vibration are the same or are inside the model, it means the machine is working well. If the vibration are outside the model, well, then we may have a problem. And then we connect to a network and we send an information to say, hello, Houston, we have a problem, come and fix the machine because it's about to break. Now, if I take this and I put it on a different machine, machine number 2, that has a totally different pattern in terms of vibration, then I'm going to teach the same microcontroller a different model and do the analysis, like the Shazam of the vibrations, okay, just to recognize vibration. So this is in the industry. Let me show you something that is a little bit more fun. The way you walk, the way I walk, the way everybody walks is totally different. The way I swim, the way we run, we are all different human beings, and therefore we all have a different pattern. So what we have done here in this video, we have 3 podometers. The first one from Garmin, second one from Decathlon, and the last one in the middle is the one we created ourselves. So here my friend Enzo is going to walk for a few minutes. So it's going to walk 50 steps just to teach the watch we created on his wrist the way he walks. Okay, so this is going to take another 10-15 seconds. So here the machine learning engine is learning how Enzo is walking, which is totally different versus the way I walk. Okay, so now the learning is finished after 50 steps. Okay, so we see the result. So the result is has been learned inside this prototype, and now Enzo is going to walk. But not only is going to walk, but he is also going to generate some signals, parasite signals that have nothing to do with walk. You know, for example, right now he's simulating like he's drinking or I don't know what. And our technology knows that is not working, but the technology from the others just react to vibration and they believe Enzo is walking. So if we go at the end of the presentation, and I'm going to go fast here, at the end of the presentation, we see that the results are here. So the results are, let me show you the results. So the results are here. On the video, we had 100 steps. With our prototype, we found 104, which is 4% error. The watch from Decathlon found 22% error, and the one from Garmin, which cost, by the way, 500 euros, found 155 steps. So here, what we have done with artificial intelligence is we have been able to learn how Enzo is walking, and to be 4% error is very good. Huh? I can tell you that all the watch and the smartphone and extra, they are more in the 20 to 50% range in terms of error. But so we are learning directly inside a very small microcontroller how the person is walking. So we have other examples. Let me go to the next chart. So other example in the industry, here we have Bob Assistant. Bob, I have it here with me. It's a very small component. Here, when you push this button, okay, then you have the LED that will blink here, oops, here. And it means that Bob starts to listen to the machine. So if I put Bob on my machine here, it will start to monitor this machine, learn the behavior of this coffee machine, and in the way I use it every day. And if someday there is a problem, for example, with the motor, then it will send me an alert to say, hey, there is a problem on the motor. Thousands have been sold across Europe. It's not us, it's a customer of us who is doing both. Confidential, we have the French Navy. They are working on the nuclear submarines. We have no idea what they are doing with our technology because they don't need to send the data to the cloud. Trust me, they don't want to send the data to the cloud. So they are all working with their computer in order to create sensors to detect vibration patterns. So they make sure that there is no strange noise that will make the submarines seen in the sea. So we can work with many kind of signal. It could be vibration, pressure, volatile organic compound, currents, magnetic, temperature, ultrasound, multi-signal sensor. We don't do video, we don't do voice, because there are many, let's say, companies that are today working in this area. And we believe that today they think like humans, with the sensor of the humans. We as humans, we have the video and we have the voice, because we can see, we can hear. So what they do is they replicate a human trying to listen to a machine. But if you think not like a human, but you think like a machine, then it's more appropriate to use a vibration or to use a pressure in order to monitor if there is a problem or not. So what I advise my customers all the time is stop thinking like a human for a minute, try to think like a machine, and try to understand if, for example, a current or magnetic, for example, magnetic, we don't have magnetic sensors, we as humans. Only the pigeons and the dolphins have a magnetic sensor. But we, as humans, we don't have. Trust me, a magnetic sensor on a motor is a very effective way to monitor an engine and to try to understand if the machine has an anomaly or not. So on the right of the little things you see are sensors. So this is what you have in your watch or in your telephone. They are big, like let's say maximum 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, so very tiny, and they capture vibration, temperature, ultrasound, and things like that. So let me give you a couple of other examples. Here you have a company called Schneider Electric. They are doing circuit breakers. And here you have a circuit breaker and you have the on-off button. And the problem is these buttons are aging and therefore deteriorating. And the problem is when this is broken, then all the machines that are on this line will not operate, because this is a circuit breaker. So what they are doing with our technology, they put our technology, intelligence artificial technology, inside the circuit breaker. And then you can learn the on and the off. So click, clack, you know, the on, off. You do it 5 times. That's enough. Now, the machine learning knows this component, and then it will continue to monitor and tell you, oh, there is a problem. You should change, or you should come and fix and repair the circuit breaker. Extremely efficient. Another one that is more fun is the leak detection. We have a company in the US, very large company that has thousands of hotels across the world, and billions of gallons of water are wasted every year because of the leaking, and what they call the ghost flush. You know, when there is a leak in the flush, after a minute or 2 or an hour, then you have the cube will flush again, will fill again, sorry. So you may hear that at home from time to time. Shh, oh, it's just water. This is what's called a ghost flush. These cost billions of gallons of water to be wasted every year. So we have a little device on the tube. We analyze in order to understand whether it is the water linked from the flush, or if it is a shower, or if it is a faucet, etc. And then we are able to detect if there is a problem. If there is a problem, we just send a signal through the network to say, hey, room number 223 in Dallas, there is a problem, please come and fix. So it's a very efficient way to detect things that would normally be extremely difficult to detect. And one last, Lacroix Electronics is a company that is manufacturing, you know, small circuit, small, not only small, but big also, circuits like that, where you put components and you solder the components. And then this is a heaven where they are oven, sorry, where they reflow the components. The problem is this from time to time is on fire only because the oven cannot detect that the fan are obstructed with materials. They have put our technology inside the oven, and now they are able to detect when things are going wrong or are going well. I think I'm reaching right now the end of my time. I would like to thank you for having me with you today. It's been a pleasure. And I'm sorry I had to rush a little bit in my presentation. Not easy. But if you're interested to know more about Cartesiam, please feel free to go on cartesiam.ai. You can even download the code and use it for free. And if you want to know more, feel free to drop me a mail. My mail is joel@cartesiam.com. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good time for the rest of the day.